नमः। ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। 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 ॐ वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। ॐ मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ ध्यायामि चिन्मयानन्दं गुरुदेवं महामतिं प्रेमपूर्णं क्रियाशीलं सदा लोकहिते रतं कृपालुं सुन्दराकारं समर्थं सत्यदर्शिनं वाचा तत्त्वप्रकाशिन्या शोकमोहविनाशिनम्। ॐ श्री सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। Hari Om, Suprabhatam. We will chant the two shlokas which we have seen. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate, Samprapte Sannihite Kale, नहि नहि रक्षति डुक्कृङ्करणे मूढजहीः धनागमतृष्णा कुरु सद्बुद्धिं मनसि वितृष्णा यल्लभसे निज कर्मोपात्तं वित्तं तेन विनोदय चित्तं भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते सम्प्राप्ते सन्निहिते काले नहि नहि रक्षति डुक्कृङ्करणे। In the first shloka, Acharya had expressed the need for Paravidya, where he talks of Aparavidya, which will not help us at the time of death, whereas Paravidya will lead us to the highest pinnacle of experience and fulfill the very purpose of life. Then in the second shloka, he expressed how vittam, wealth according to what we consider is that which is going to again pull us down from the path, take us away from the path, lead us differently from the destination. Where artha is that which can actually ruin a personality. We need to be very careful in understanding the importance of artha and also understand what we cannot get out of wealth. This we saw yesterday. Yallabhase nija karma upattam. The third line very clearly says, nija karma upattam, that wealth which is got legitimately. Nija karma. What is that karma there? Karma here is that which is got legitimately, those wealth got legitimately. There is a very beautiful subhashita. It says, Uttamam Swarjitam Vittam Madhyamam Piturarjitam Adhamam Bhratrivittancha Strivittam Adhamadhamam. Uttamam, the best is Swa-arjitam Vittam. Swa-arjitam, that which is gained out of my own effort. How much ever it may be. Less, more or most, whatever. Little more or, in crores, millions. But Swa-arjitam Vittam, it has to be gained out of my own effort. That is any day the best. Uttamam. Madhyamam Piturarjitam. One notch below is the ancestral properties. Piturarjitam here means ancestral properties. In fact, Shastra always says ancestral properties are secondary because it can get worn out, it can get spent away. How the outlook here is, when ancestral properties come to me in a big way, for example, then I will think that I have got enough and I might not put myself into that framework of gaining money out of my own effort. One can become lazy, one can become arrogant with Piturarjitam Vittam. Third is Adhamam Bhratrivittancha. Again, one notch below is taking money from the brothers and sisters. You can supply brothers and sisters. And the fourth one, Acharya, the Subhashita says, Strivittam Adhamadhamam. Here Strivittam refers to probably the dowry or living in wife's earning and not putting in our own effort. That is Adhamadhamam. It is to be condemned. So Vittam, Swa-arjitam Vittam. When I earn on myself, I will respect that wealth also. Because Swa-arjitam. When it is taken from others, we will not have respect for that vitta. We will not have importance for that vitta. We will not know the difficulties with which they have got the vitta, the money. Therefore, Swa Arjitam Vittam is here called as Nija Karma Upattam. Right? Therefore, do not live on inherited property or money that is taken from others. In general, others. One has to earn one's own living and channelize it properly towards gaining the ultimate goal. Not the whims and fancies of life, not the pleasures of life. This is what it means. Continuing, Vittam Tena Vinodaya. Vittam Tena Vinodaya. Vinodaya means entertain, enjoy. That Vittam Tena Vinodaya. Tena here refers to what? Swa Arjitam Vittam. With that, you enjoy your life to whatever extent required. Tena Vido Vinodaya Chittam. Educate your mind. When it is Chittam here is educate your mind to enjoy what is available and not long for something beyond my capacity. Having thus talked about the first shloka, as I said, is Vidya. Vidya of what? Of outer objective Vidya was condemned. Second, Artha was talked about. Now Acharya takes up the next very important delusion of life, Kamaha. We will read the shloka. Nari sthana bharanabhidesham. Nari sthana bharanabhidesham. Drishtva maga mohavesham. Etanmam savasadi vikaram. Manasi vichintaya varam varam. Naristana bharanabhidesham. Drishtva maga mohavesham. Etanmam savasadi vikaram. Manasi vichintaya varam varam. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. Samprapte sannihite kale, nahi nahi rakshati dukkrans karani. Kamaha means desires. Normally, whenever this shloka is taken up, people immediately think that Acharya is very biased on women. When we don't understand the shloka properly, then misunderstanding crops up. Now we will logically analyze. Whenever we talk of kama, there are two types of kama. One is agantuka kamaha, and the second one is swabhavika kamaha. Agantuka kamaha is that which is restricted to individual, restricted to a person, which is non-universal. And agantuka kamaha depends upon time, place and person. We will explain. The desires which we have today in our life were not found probably 20 years before or 50 years before. Very simple example is mobiles. 20 years before, 50 years before, there were no mobiles as such, or maybe it would have just started 20 years before. But 50 years before, you would know that mobiles itself were non-existent. Therefore, the desire for mobile, the desire for varieties of mobile, desire for different features in a mobile, desire for the most latest mobile, all these were not there. When it was not there 50 years before, it has started over a period of time. Therefore, they are not common desires, they are time-bound desires. In the history of time, many desires of that kind were not there. Cars, bikes. Today we have so many latest cars, so many latest models of bikes. In fact, it is so many that we get confused what to buy. Think. Whereas earlier days, cycles, and in fact, there were not many varieties of cycles. A general standard cycle was that people used to have, and the very interesting part there is, it was purpose oriented. The cycle was used to commute from one place to another place. The focus was not in the cycle. Focus was in the purpose for which the cycle was used. Similarly, telephone. Telephone was used purposefully. There was no fanciful things in that. It was later now we have varieties of phones, where in fact now later in the modern days people don't use much of landline. Otherwise we had fanciful landline phones, then we had cordless phones, and even in the cordless phones there were varieties. So people used to become fanciful in acquiring the latest model, the most fanciful model, etc., etc. So this kama, the desire for things, changes over time, from time to time. So one is dependent on time. Second is dependent on place. Like for example, a South Indian person is generally a rice eater, whereas a North Indian person, so to say, are more on rotis and varieties of rotis for the time being. Earlier, chapatis was very staple food in the north. In south, chapatis was not very staple food. We were all rice eaters. Now, over a period of time, so many mixtures have taken place. Meaning what? The desires have changed. Now, South Indians also, in the name of health consciousness, underline, in the name of health consciousness, so many changes takes place in food. Desires have changed, varieties have changed. Finally, it is what? Only to appease that 1.5 inch boneless tongue. Think. These were not the case earlier. If you go to another country, for example, the varieties are totally different. If you go to the north, you will find all pizzas and burgers and all those type would have been very common. Is it not? Worst, go to China. Snakes they eat. Think. That is their culture. So with reference to place, the desires can change. Think? So time, desires can change. Place, desires can change. Person. Every person has his own fanciful desires. I wanted to say that, I forgot. With reference to place, for example, the South Indians are more coffee drinkers, whereas the North Indians are all tea drinkers. If you go to the other countries, they drink coffee, but not the coffee what we drink in South India. They drink black coffee. So there also place varieties are there. Gurudev used to drink coffee. He enjoyed coffee. So wherever he goes, when he says, somebody asked him, Swamiji, can I please get some milk for you? He roared, I am not a cat, he used to say. And he used to drink coffee. Now, in South India, we were drinking coffee. I just thought I will express this, a very beautiful expression which Swamiji had, Gurudev had given. Coming to personality, each one of us have our own desires. Each one of us have our own choice. Like for example, again, in South India, for example, our choice of dressing changes from person to person. Like in the, of course, more in the women folk, you will find the varieties of dresses. One person may choose sari, another person want to wear a chudidar. Here is a third person who might wear a gagra choli. So like that, varieties, taste differs from person to person. While one person would like to have bisi bele bath, another person would like to have masala dosa. Third person would say, idli is enough for me. Why? Beyond that he cannot digest. So choice again changes from person to person. Agantuka kamaha changes from person to person, changes from time to time, changes from place to place. The last point in Agantuka Kama is, it can be acquired and it can be dropped. Like for example, a South Indian Hindu Brahmana Shastri who has been brought up in a very orthodox family would take vegetarian food, probably would perform Sandhya Vandana regularly along with his father, in case his father performs. And because of the need that he is sent to US, what is that called? Onshore, on something, offshore and on-site. So he is sent. So he goes to America, and in America he lives a life. There also he probably initially might have been living that, but over a period of time he can pick up eating non-veg with the force of people around him. Possible. He can pick up so many varieties, ways of living. His way of living can change because of the required conditions in another place probably. He can change. He can pick up certain habits. And he can also drop certain habits. Let us suppose he comes back to India. His contract was over. those habits which he had picked up in the foreign country, when he comes back, he has a ability, he has a choice to drop them. So, agantuka kama are those which can be picked up and which can be dropped at any period of time. This is the first variety of kama, which is non-universal. Then we have the second variety, which actually is more important. What is that? Swabhavika kama, which is universal, which is instinct and impulse based desires. This is universal. This every one of us have. Now, example, our desire for security, physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual desires. In case of spiritual desires, it is very limited. But security, health, and comfort, these are generally common. These are common in the sense what? Every one of us have them. And the most common among all the creatures is attraction towards the opposite sex. This is taken up as an example by Acharya to make us understand not only that particular issue, but with that as an example, we can also take up all the other common instinctive desires. Now, Stri Purusha Paraspara Ichha is not only with reference to human beings. It is an instinct in all the species of the world. In fact, this is what has actually built the world. Without that instinct, there is no world. Therefore, one must not misunderstand or underestimate that instinct. Point number 2. It is a creation of the Lord. Therefore, Lord cannot be wrong. When the instinct is given to all equally, it cannot be a mistake by only a man or only a woman or only a creature, male or female creature. No, the most important part we have to understand is in creation. Now please note, in creation there are universal aspects which are common to all, which is deliberately given by Bhagavan. Therefore, we need to understand them properly. There are a lot of confusions and delusions regarding this aspect, and we develop lot of ideas within ourselves and disrespect that instinct also. We need to understand them properly. And we also not only need to understand, we should know how to handle them. This idea is beautifully brought out in this shloka. The third shloka. What is that? Now, Acharya says, Ma ga mohavesham. Don't get into the trap of moha avesham. Moha, delusion. Avesham is that force of delusion, the trap of delusion. What is the delusion here? We will understand. The first point is, with reference to this instinct for paraspara anyonya ichha, there are 5 very important points. What are they? First point is, since it is universal, we have no choice in its existence. Listen very carefully. Point number 1, we have no choice in its existence. Point number 2, we are not responsible for its existence. Why? It has been given commonly to everyone by creation. Therefore, we are not responsible for its existence. Underline. Please be very careful. We have no choice and we are not responsible. Now the third point is, we cannot challenge its existence. We cannot challenge its existence because again it has been supplied while creating by Bhagavan universally to all. Therefore, it cannot be challenged. The fourth point is, it cannot be resisted. What cannot be resisted? The existence of that anyonya paraspara ichha cannot be resisted. Therefore, the fifth point, we need not feel bad or guilty for its existence. I am insisting on the last word, for its existence. Again, I will repeat, be careful while listening. Why I am saying be careful while listening? Because in case you go in your own thinking trail, then you will miss the important point. So please be very attentive. Point number 1, we have no choice. Point number 2, we are not responsible. Point number 3, we cannot challenge. Point number 4, we cannot resist. Point number 5, we need not feel bad or guilty. Now comes the last point. All this for its existence in us. Why? This is universally given by Bhagavan. Every creature has all these 5. Maybe the 5th one is not there. Why? The other creatures function out of impulse and instinct. Therefore, the 5th one doesn't hold good for them. But for human beings, definitely it holds good. Then, now the next point is very important. I don't have a choice for its existence, but I have a choice to activate, promote, or nourish that instinct. I have a choice to activate or not activate. We human beings, with intelligence given, rational thinking available, we have a choice to activate, promote, or nourish those instincts which animals do not have. Right? It is perfectly possible perfectly possible for us to restrain and ignore. It is perfectly possible. Now please note, every word should be understood very carefully and in its own sense. When I say it is perfectly possible, it means it is not impossible. At the same time, these are instincts which naturally come to everyone, and at very many times you will find it is not impossible, but it is definitely difficult. It is difficult but not impossible. And here Acharya brings in a very important aspect of life. What is that? The ability to discriminate. Ability to choose. Ability to strengthen our own knowledge. An ability to let go. All these are available. However, in spite of all this, there is always a force, and what decides is whether the force is stronger than my ability to restrict, or my ability to restrict is stronger than the force. This ability comes out of right thinking and right contact. Very many times you will find one falls prey for it. Therefore, sometimes it gets activated out of some weak moments. But we do have a choice not to nourish them and not to promote them within ourselves. When I understand this ability in me not to promote, not to nourish them, even though it gets activated, very soon you will find it loses its strength and it wanes away. Then what happens? Then I gain more strength in no more promoting, no more activation, no more nourishing such thoughts. Bhagavan Sri Krishna, which is very oft quoted, says, Asamshayam Mahabaho Manaha Durnigraham Chalam. Mind is unstable. This is the very quality of the mind. But at the same time, what he says, Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha. Abhyasa is what? I again and again activate my sense of discrimination, and slowly I must be able to get out of this instinctive impulses which are universal, yet I have the capacity to let go. The next point. We always have told prarabdha karma, those bundle which has come from the previous janmas, which might be very strong. So sometimes it can push a person into instinctive and impulse-based action, even though he or she may not want to do, but it can be so strong, and our ability to hold on may be weak. That is why I said sometimes it get activated out of some force, unknown force maybe, or maybe known force. It may be activated, but it can be blocked. It can be not nourished. It need not be promoted. Should not be promoted. This ability we have. That is why the fifth point we said earlier, one need not feel bad or one need not feel guilty for having it, but when we can transform those impulses for a better functioning, then we are in the right track. Shastras give another beautiful platform for people who are unable to hold on, and then it says, yes, we permit you to express these instincts where in the Grihastha. There again, Manusmriti you will find gives a beautiful detail of how it can be expressed, where it should be expressed, when it should be expressed, and when not it should be expressed. The one who follows these procedures have actually taken up what is called as Brahmacharya Vratam. And when even in a Grihastha, when these people, when he follows these norms, he has been called as Brahmachari, even though married. Why? He is following those norms. Think. They are prescribed for that particular activity. Through that, they can grow internally. They can learn internally. They can graduate internally from the instinct-based life to rational living. At the same time, there is an option given for us to grow out of those instincts. Through intelligence, through rational thinking, we have an option to grow out of it. Now please note this point very clearly. Getting out is not the right choice. If you get out, you can as well get in also later. But when I grow out of it with logical thinking, understanding, then that growth means that I may not fall back. No guarantee, please. This is where samskaras comes into picture. Therefore, an ability to hold on. This is what is called as not only growing out, it is transcending. Now please note, in spite of the fact that I have grown, in spite of the fact that I have the ability not to activate, in spite of the fact that I have the strength not to promote or nourish, man and woman goes through certain weak moments. Everybody cannot be strong all the time. There are moments where one falls prey. But Shastras say, no problem. Uttishtata, Jagrata. What is that Uttishtata, Jagrata? Again it means grow. educate yourself and grow out, so that the strength of education and the strength of decision to grow out will give you that strength to hold on to the higher. Therefore, one has to deliberately avoid and grow out. This ability only a human being has. Then, the next point in this factor, Shastra never compels anyone to exercise that impulse or not exercise the impulse. Shastra never compels, but Shastra only educates us and shows us what if this happens, this is what is the other results. If you take up to this, these can be the results. Therefore, you have a choice. You have a choice to let go, leave it behind, grow and reach the pinnacle of human existence, or hang over and perish. Both are choices given. Shastras does not give a commandment. You shall not do. Shastras don't give. But Shastras say, you are given a rational intelligence. You are supplied with the education. You have been educated, you have the intelligence, you have the rational, discriminative ability. Grow. Think. And therefore, the one who is able to pick up, who is able to understand, who is able to assimilate, who is able to abide, and who is able to grow out of such baser instincts and impulses, which even after that will remain with oneself, but if he grows out of it, he is called Viveki. That is why earlier I said, what did I say? We have no choice. We are not responsible. We cannot challenge. Think. For what? For its existence. We cannot resist. We need not feel bad or guilty for its existence. But if we can educate ourselves and grow out of it, this growth is possible only in human beings. And such a person is called Viveki. And the one who does not grow out of it is Aviveki. And for such people, Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani, Jatare Shayanam. Thousands and thousands of lives, all of us have been Avivekis. Even now, many of us are Avivekis. But still, it is not late. As it is always said, it is never too late. Every moment is a beautiful opportunity Bhagavan has given to grow, to educate, to let go. This is possible, and this choice we have. Think. More tomorrow. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo नमः. Harihi Om.